Sis, what? That's gonna be beautiful. Hey, it's Evie.
And this.
Talking about things.
All sorts of things. Safe space. Listen, y'all.
Rolling up the tapes.
About things.
Alright, so today's things is this no new friends. So we want to cancel no new friends. But before we get there, let's just talk about friendships.
Right. What does it mean to us?
So I think for me, it's changed, it's evolved, right? I think that when you're a child, especially growing up in trauma,
Right.
you tend to bond with people who relate to your trauma.
Right.
And hopefully we all grow to be these adults healing from our trauma. And then your friendships have to change. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of friends. I think it just means that you either grow together as friends or the shape of your friendship changes.
Right.
And then I think there's a need now for the new friends, right? That theory of no new friends almost only equates when there's no change happening.
And when you don't want change
Right.
to happen.
Right.
Because you can definitely hold on to the friends that you just acquired over time. But there's also nothing wrong with letting some friends go too. Because you can definitely outgrow a friend. It doesn't mean that you don't love them or care about them anymore, but you definitely can get to a point where you no longer share the same things, same interests. You know, you have different goals, different places you see yourself in life. And also some people don't want to grow out of their trauma, which is, if that's what first connected you together,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm trying to be better, boo. I can't.
Right.
Stick
So we either
around.
gotta be better or we gotta get new friends.
Better together.
Right.
Or, yeah.
Right. So over the time, right, I feel like I've always had a mixture of friends that I felt like I was never really included, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I had friends who all loved me and I all loved them, but I never felt like any of them. I still feel very odd around almost everyone. Mainly because I feel odd, right? I think my race looks ambiguous to most people. So that already puts me at a, is she black? Is she Hispanic?
Right.
And so who do you fit into, right?
Where
Where do you fit into, right? I feel like I've had, over my history of life, black friends, white friends, mulattoes, Hispanic friends. Like, I feel like I've had all of the above because I fit in appearance-wise in multi-layers, right? But then I am very, like, growing up, I was ratchet. like real ratchet. Like, you know, I come from hustlers and gangsters and drug addiction. So that limited, I think, friendships as well.
Right.
Right? Where now I'm still ratchet. But
Clatchet.
right, I'm clatchet, I'm ratchet. Right? So I think that opens the door for me to have friends in different circles and different places. Right? I got cosmetology that connects me. Hey girl.
Hey.
I also have mathematics, right? The same people that I sit and talk here with don't want to talk about mathematics.
Listen.
Right? So
Because the calculator is always in my pocket.
So I just say I feel like there's room for new friends as you
Right.
grow and evolve.
Absolutely.
So
I wanted to piggyback off of that really quick because also looking the way that I look in my appearance, I have a similar experience growing up. Even just the way that I talk, because people like to give speech a color for some reason. I'll never understand that. But you know, I was always too white for the black kids, and of course to the white kids I'm still very much black because that's just how that goes. And it was strange because you're getting labeled for trying to be something that you're not even trying to be. And then it's like, do I try to act a certain way to fit in, or do I change the way I talk and, you know, use more use more slang, or try to be more ghetto than what my actual upbringing is. Like, I'm very much still a black girl, but my father was raised in Hamden, up on a hill with all the old white people. So,
On the hill.
on the hill. Like, my father talks like this, you know? It has nothing to do with my color, but it's just, it was discouraging because anything that's different, if it's foreign, people just either make fun of it or they purposely seclude you or subconsciously seclude you because you don't.
I tell professional people that English is my second language.
Oh, come on.
I swear to goodness I do. Because then it just stops the conversation of the ignorance, right?
Right.
Because I speak broken very often. Ain't gonna
Right.
is how I speak. Now, I've definitely got a 4.0 on my master's, so don't come check me because I will check you. But I do speak ain't gonna.
Right.
Often. I do say fuck that shit. Often.
Shit.
That's my thing. So, like, when I'm around professional, and I'm highly, quote, professional, right? Because they think that they're professional. But when I'm around in that world of the workforce, I just, to avoid that,
Right.
English is my second language. Because then I don't have to have the conversation about them correcting anything I say. Because I know what I said it intentional. I meant it the way I said it.
Exactly.
But to them, they can't understand that. So I just avoid that conversation, which sucks, right? And that's why I always feel like I can't be what I am anywhere. And then if I'm at home, not anymore, but at some point in my life when I was at home, I had to dial down my geek, right? I couldn't math out or geek out because then I'm showing off or acting weird. I'm thinking I'm better than someone else. Someone even said to me once, like, when you're around people that are not as intelligent, do you feel like you're around dummies? And I'm like, I don't even know what that means because I think everybody's intelligent in different categories. There's
That part, yeah.
tons of things I don't know in life.
Mhm.
Tons of things, like how to put up lines.
Listen.
Real serious. So I'm just saying, I feel like my bad, but that's real. That's so real. My struggle is real. So I feel like that's what I think we miss. That genius intellect doesn't have anything to do with a book or
Absolutely
a degree, right? There's tons of things that we are remarkable, great at. I don't ever want to put up another blind again. So anybody who's a genius in that, thank you for being on this earth. I'm just saying. Like,
And that person might not be the greatest at math. And
right.
that person may not have the greatest vocabulary. And that's another thing, too. Just because you have a wide vocabulary doesn't mean that you're smart. Listen, I know a lot of big words, but there's a lot of things that I do not know.
And I hate the fact that English is some kind of equation to intelligence,
Yeah.
right? Especially because English is not the language of America. I want to say that one
Absolutely
more time.
not.
English is not the language of America, right? So we get confused that because a person doesn't speak English, whatever language they speak. But let's say, we're going to use Spanish because that's our second language, right?
Mhm.
So say someone does come here and they don't speak English, they only speak Spanish, then somehow they're not as smart as you. Pause, stop.
I know
right?
a lot of people that have come over here from other countries, from Spanish-speaking countries, and they will purposely not let people know that they understand English. Because you hear what people say around, just same thing. Like, okay, better example, you go to the nail salon to get your nails done, and, they're talking their Mandarin and they're talking their sugar honey iced tea about you. Some people go into those shops and they speak Mandarin and they'll just listen, just know what's going on. But Spanish-speaking people do the same thing, I found, more often than not.
Right.
And it's just to be up on game, you
Right.
know?
And then because of that, I feel like, going back to the friends, like, because of that, I feel like I've always had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had to be a different person depending on the circle I was in, and that sucks.
Right.
So now I'm coming into this love for myself, right? And putting me first, which was very hard to do in these 38 years. And now, like, year 39, I have made a statement of I'm first.
Right.
And that also means that my friends might have to change their shape, right? I feel like I have to expand the word friend
Right.
to fit all aspects of who I am.
Right.
So I don't have to pretend that English is my second language.
Come on. I remember just growing up and everyone always would say, I'm a weirdo because I liked the things that I liked. I was a very eccentric kid. You know, I liked my art, and I can sit in my room all day by myself. I'll read, I'll color, I'll draw something, paint something. And even my family, they would be like, you know, why don't you go outside and like do something, right? But going back into just relating to people, because if I go outside and I do what I want to do, I'm gonna bring my easel outside. I'm gonna be sitting in a lawn chair, like chilling.
Oh, hippie.
Right. So it's like, dude, and like, I'm not a child, or I'm not being a kid because I'm indulging myself in the things that I actually have an interest in. And like, you're making me feel like I'm a weirdo for doing what I want to do. So I have to go and climb these trees, which I did do too, don't get me wrong. But
that's not what I want to do at this moment.
Right.
That's like me because I don't drink and smoke, right?
Oh.
Right. It has been a hard challenge because I think I only have one friend ever growing up that has never been like, come on, just one drink.
Really?
Only one. I feel like every one of my childhood friends used to truly try to get me to have one. It became like this thing where, why don't you drink? And so I'll share my reasoning, and then they're offended. Well, don't ask me, right? Like,
right.
I'm not saying that that's a thing for you. It's a thing for me, right? And that has been hard. Like, that's been really, really hard. Me making new friends in the dating world, all of that, because most adults drink, right? And a lot of them smoke marijuana. So, like, because I don't engage in those activities, it has been this divide of me pretending to drink. Literally, like, taking a shot that I threw behind my back. Just because I was tired of dealing with the nonsense, right? Or passing the shot to the person next to me. And those were still my friends. So I don't want to make anyone feel like they weren't my friend because they were trying to encourage me to drink. I think they were trying to encourage me to let loose or whatever.
Have a good time.
Right. But it still makes me uncomfortable that I can't be me without having to be judged by you.
Because it's a boundary.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to constantly express your boundaries to people who are your friends, because your friends are supposed to have your best interest at heart, right? And what a good time is for me isn't necessarily the same for you. It doesn't look the same, right? So there's people who can have, drink a whole bottle, and you know what I mean? There's people who have a glass and be fine.
Right.
Or not anything at all. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we're around each other to enjoy one another's company.
But I do think it stopped from invites, right?
Right.
And so what makes a friend isn't necessarily the person you're always next to. And I think that's where the hard divide is. Like, I had to learn that you're still my friend even though we don't hang out much, because I know it makes you uncomfortable that I don't drink, and I've accepted that. However, now that I'm growing and shifting, I'm realizing, no, it's not okay.
I was just about to say,
but that's how I grew up. I grew up feeling like it was okay that they didn't accept pieces of me because I'm just weird, and I get it. Like, that's how I felt, right?
You don't have to accept it. Well, no. You don't have to like it, but you do need to accept it if you're going to be my actual friend.
Right.
That's the difference.
And that's what was skewed for me, I think, growing up.
Right.
That I called a lot of people friends that probably weren't.
Right.
Right. A lot of people friends that were people near me.
So I just imagine how many people would be legitimate friends if everyone did only the things that they had interest in doing. Just like, especially when we're young. Young.
Because I think that human nature is to want to be accepted. No matter how we feel like we don't, and we're our own person. Because I could pretend right along with you that I don't care what nobody thinks.
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
So we pretend we're these people to be accepted by these people who never accepted us.
And who's setting this bar of acceptance? Like, who are we being accepted by?
And most time, both people are lying. Right? Most time, both people are walking into this friendship giving half of themselves to be accepted by the other one, not knowing that they're both too uncomfortable to be comfortable.
Could you imagine if we both didn't like to drink and we're both just like, yeah, I'll be having
I'm a drink because fun. You want to drink.
Yeah.
Right? But it's real. I watched this episode of, Dad, what's this stupid show? dang, I'm not gonna think of the name of it, but I watched this stupid show where these two grown adults, okay, they were like 25, I think. They both were pretending to be bisexual because they thought that the other one was bisexual, so they wanted them to be comfortable, and then like their outside friends both kind of revealed that they were both straight.
So what are we doing?
Like, I know that that's extreme, but it's so like, what? Like, so they spent like this whole 6 months of building a friendship on this lie because they both thought
it's something they can relate to.
Yep. When they could have just related to who they really were.
Right.
But that happens a lot in life, and I'm gonna say I definitely have been guilty of that. I definitely have been showing a piece of myself in certain situations to be accepted so that I could enjoy myself for this moment, even if it's not going to last.
See, I've gone through that phase as well. Thankfully, it was a long time ago.
I ain't gonna lie, mine wasn't that long ago. I think I just, over the last couple years, started to truly indulge in loving me, and it's okay to be me, and whoever doesn't like it, I'm not apologetic for it.
Right.
Because I used to be sorry for it. I'm not.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Because then you feel guilty, like, oh, well, everyone else is telling me, like, I'm giving up on people too easily.
Yep.
And I'm cold-hearted, and you're a BIT,
Yeah.
and all this other stuff. And it's like, why do I have to tolerate somebody that I know isn't for me?
Right.
Just for the sake of saying that I have a friend or that we've been friends for X amount of years?
Right.
What is that doing for any of us?
Right.
When I could just let it go and be happy.
Right.
And
they could be happy too, because we're both sitting around trying to watch our steps and be uncomfortable. For what? For what? When you can go find someone who believes, and I also don't believe friends have to believe in the same thing.
No.
But I'm just saying, like, you can find somebody who accepts those beliefs or who is indulging in those beliefs so that you can be yourself.
And I feel like that's a good thing to have too, because that dynamic opens a door for conversation. You know, we can explore different things, and then you might along the way change your perception on certain things.
Right. That's how perceptions change, right? Like, that's where I say, like, in education, sometimes we at the table and everybody was like, well, should we be talking about that? And I just get so uncomfortable because I feel like children don't know that it's okay to be accepting to others because we make it that way.
Right.
We pretend that we're also all supposed to agree, and then kids grow up to have these friends that they think they have to agree with. And that's not real. That's not true, right? We can still be friends and disagree.
I was reading a story, and it's not necessarily about friends. It's about, you know, like marriage and children growing up and seeing their parents have healthy debates or not. There was a whole forum I was reading, and everyone was chiming in, but this one particular example was a child who is saying, you know, they're grown now, but as children, they wish that their parents would have argued in front of them.
I have friends like that.
Now they're married, they're in their their marriage, and they have disputes, and every time they have a dispute, although it's normal to have disagreements, this person always feels like they're failing at their marriage because they're disagreeing.
I have a client who told me the exact story. I swear to God, she was like saying that the first 2 years of her marriage were so rough because they kept disagreeing, and then she went and spoke to her mom finally about it, but it took her 2 years to speak to her mom because she felt like she was failing. And then when she talked to her mom, she was like, you know, me and your dad argued every night for the first couple years, whatever. And she was like, what?
Right.
So that is true, like, but again, that comes to us adults being responsible or accountable for what we teach kids about what friendship or relationship should look like.
Be yourself.
Right. Be yourself. It's okay to disagree. What a healthy argument is. Because arguing does not mean yelling and screaming.
And talking in circles.
Arguing means, by definition, it means disagreeing in conversation.
Right.
So, like, those arguing is okay. Disrespectful is the problem.
And also teaching children that when they're wrong, or you could be in the midst of an argument and believe you're right up until that point, because at some point, if it's a right or wrong moment, you're going to be like, oh, shit.
My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
But teach them that it's okay to be like, oh, you know what?
Because that's what makes friendships, right? Like, friendships really, really, really are supposed to be the places where you feel safe in being yourself. Right? So teaching someone it's okay to admit wrong or fault, that's also being yourself.
Right.
That if you get into a point of the argument, no, it doesn't happen much with me because I'm always right. I'm just saying. But like, we get to a point in an argument where you're like, I'm like going at you about something and you go to correct me. Dang, my bad.
Right.
You right. I mean, most of the time I try really hard not to get definite or absolute about something that I have not researched thoroughly from multiple sources, because that's what happens, right? You get these truths that were told to you by somebody.
It's like, do I have the facts to back that up though? Right. Maybe I shouldn't double down on it.
And now you're losing friends because you don't know how to have discussions or arguments.
And being able to differentiate, okay, we're having this discussion and it's us having differing opinions. Because we can go all day, like, well, that's fine. You feel that way, I feel this way.
Right.
But how we feel and what is...
Especially conversations where you can't prove either one of us.
Exactly.
Right.
But that versus fact, like, you're not going to tell me that X amount of countries are, like, no.
You lived in how many?
Right. You got to figure it out.
So, a question, right? Do you classify groups of people differently? Like, what makes a friend compared to someone you know, compared to someone you hang out with? Like,
okay,
I say friend very loosely all the time, and then I have this actual friend who will be like, stop saying the word friend.
Right.
I'm like, why can't they just be my friend, just in a different category? But she gets mad. Like, she doesn't call people friends. They're all in a category. Like, how do you feel about that?
So I feel like I generalize it in like a pretty simple way. So I'll be like, oh, you know, like my friend, I have a best friend who I've known since I was 11 years old. She ain't going nowhere. That's my sister, you know?
It's my Nikki.
Right. And then I have friends who are like people that I can just trust generally. And then like new friends are like people that are going through a trial period where it's like things are good now. You know what I mean? Like you're still an acquaintance. Like we're seeing if we're going to be like friends. Like you got to pass the new friend phase to get to the friend phase.
And what's the moment where you pass the new friend phase to the friend phase?
So, because I'm a weird individual.
Look, preference that first.
And if I can be comfortable in my weirdness around you and like do all my quirky things, because I'm going to send you through the ringer at first, right? I'm going to say some things that are a little obscure. I'm going to, you know, just be myself though. I'm not like putting on a facade. I'm going to give it to you in little sprinkles because this is who I am. And I need to see if you can handle it. Yeah, full throttle.
Oh, I so understand.
If you can handle that, and like if we can have open discussions, and if we can talk about all the taboo topics, and you're not like, you know,
right?
That's already a green flag for me.
Okay.
So I look for the green flags. Okay.
I look for red flags.
I feel like red flags tell on themselves though.
I feel like that's who I've always been. I look for red flags first, like all the time. So I feel like, I mean, the truth is, we know I'm offensive every day, all day. One of my clients said, "Girl, you speak in trigger words."
That's
so
one
like,
of my favorite things about you though.
So since I speak in trigger words, I feel like I can weed out people easily.
Right.
The only people that I get a little caught up with are people I've had forever. Because I start to excuse their disconnect, right?
Okay.
Like that's what's really, it takes me a lot to attach to people, but when I attach to people, I attach hard.
Okay.
So that's where I find my issue is the attachment thing. And me and therapists, yes sis, we are working on that. Cause I'll be venting to her and she'll point something out and I'll be like, no, she didn't mean that. And she'll be like, girl, you know what you just said? And she's repeating back what I said, but I can't even hear myself.
Right.
So that's my only problem. But new people, I feel like, because I'm such a trigger, and because I have now came into this, I feel how I feel, and this is who I am, and you're going to have to deal with it.
Right.
So because I'm that person today, because I wasn't always that person, I can easily find people who can't really deal with me. And I think I weed out naturally people who can't, because I'm either going to turn you off or I'm turning you on. There's not really an in-between ground with me because I don't know how to say things softly.
Right.
My bad. I have Kanye moments very often.
And I know I always bring this up, but it's funny because the reason why we're friends in the first place, because we are similar in that way. It's just I'm saying the same stuff that you're gonna say, but I'm gonna be like,
I'm like, well, she said that's what I wanted to say.
Excuse me. Like, I see what you're trying to do.
Where I'm like, that's ugly. You like, that doesn't fit your shape well. And I'm like, I meant what she said. But that's why it's a little bit easier for me to weed out red flags first, because I'm a trigger, and I'm sorry, I don't mean it.
Can we swap that? Because my problem, and I feel like people take this for granted because they don't know how to read me immediately from the beginning.
So they get comfortable quick.
Yeah, and they'll show their cards super fast.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't expect anybody to be perfect, don't get me wrong. So you can have a couple red flags. You can have a couple.
Right. I believe you can have as many as you want as long as it's not about human rights. Like, I feel like the right to agree to disagree is important for me. Right? That's what's most important, is the right to agree to disagree.
Okay. And
then secondary to that, or tied to that, is the human rights. Tied to that. Let's say
sense.
Side. Like, because there's so many controversial things about black versus white and homosexuality and transgender, and all of those things to me are like, we don't have to truly agree on all of them.
Nope.
But you can't be disrespectful to my opinion, and I'm not gonna be disrespectful to yours.
Right.
And those are the biggest things I think today, that are happening. But there's lots of little things, right? Like raising children, right? Parenting styles are very different depending on your upbringing or your environment you're currently in, or your finances. Because I think that also plays a heavy part in how you parent.
And we're in the point right now in the world where things are shifting so dramatically that we're making a lot. Like, we've already been making changes, don't get me wrong, but
we're making a lot fast.
So drastically.
Right. And so friends that you grow up with, sometimes most times those things aren't important.
Right.
Not at all.
No.
Right? You're not thinking about, is she going to be a good mom? You're not thinking about, is she going to be accepting to homosexuality? You're not thinking about, is she going to be judgmental of black versus white? Or is she going to be racist? You're not thinking about those things when you're children making friends. So as you grow to be an adult, this is where that no new friends thing gets a little toxic. New friends are important because you actually form thoughts, ideas, and new friends connect to those new thoughts and ideas.
Right.
Some old friends, don't get me wrong, I definitely have plenty of friends that I've had since high school. My best friend I've had since, I can't even remember, we were 3 maybe.
Right.
So like, those old friends are definitely important, but new friends are highly important. Especially, I think, for black women.
I think it's more important to have new friends than holding on to old ones.
Yeah.
No offense to the old friends, but we need that.
Yeah,
like,
we need growth.
Yes.
We need growth. We need change. And as black women, I think the world, we're going through this transition with being accepted for our naturalness compared to being adopted, appropriated, all of that. So, like, you have to grow to find your cliques. Right? And that includes new people. You can't do that without new people.
Absolutely.
It's almost impossible to do that without new people. It really is. And that's hard. And especially like for those of us who like have the schooling difference. Like I have friends who went away to college, right? I did not. So you're gonna make new friends. If you don't, what are you doing?
Stay in your bubble. Nope, I already have friends. I don't want to meet you.
Right. So like, I don't know. I just feel like I want to debunk the toxic around no new friends. New friends are important to growth, and I'm thankful for all my new friends. I really am, and I am. I mean, my girl Paula says to me, "You're like bringing somebody home, like I'm bringing home stray animals." Like, but I do. I feel like I go through different facets of my life now, and I connect. Right, like. I'm changing, I'm growing, I'm in new circles, and when I go to these things, right, like when we in cosmetology school, there's somebody I'm gonna connect with. I need her to come home with me.
Right.
So, like, that's what happens, though. Who knows at work? I might get a new job, and there's this woman there. I'm like, ooh, I like her, and I'm gonna bring her home.
The sister friend with the colorful short hair.
Right. So that's the thing, right? You start these... You have these changes in adulthood, and you do find people where you're like, ooh, they connect to my soul.
And then even to think about it too, like we're confined in a sense, right? Because we grow up in these neighborhoods, and we're connecting with
Yes.
the kids that live in our neighborhood, that we go to school
All my
with.
friends growing up were everybody on the block.
Exactly.
Right, I'm not on the block no more.
Right. Or when you move to a new block, you got new people.
Right,
So it's like,
right,
okay, I was
right.
close with all these people, but I have more in common with the kids
These
that
people,
you know,
right.
live over here now.
Right, and you can keep old friends from the block, right? I was just
Yeah.
with the friends from the block on Friday,
Right.
and I love y'all. That blows my heart and soul. But it doesn't change that you're right. We're on a new block. You grow up and hopefully you grow up and you're on a new street. Unless you're Brian Mama House, that's okay too.
Listen.
But hopefully you have transitioned to a new place in your life where you're somewhere new. So it's only natural that you're gonna make new friends.
Right. And that's part of becoming successful in anything that you do. Because it's not they always say it's not about what you know, it's about who you know, right? Miles.
Can we chill out with Miles for a minute? Probably should keep that in.
No new friends.
Includes you, Miles.
Oh man. What is he even doing?
That's one of the kids.
Oh.
Probably Anthony.
Oh, okay. That would explain the non-response.
Yep.
Because Deuce would have been.
It's definitely Anthony. Probably has 2 headphones on too. Alright, he went back in the attic.
Dang.
I know.
What?
It's alright.
Oh no, I was saying as far as being successful as well, because I always say it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And
right. You need new friends for that.
Exactly.
Right.
New
right.
friends with common interests and common goals.
Right. The guy that was in my trade today was telling me he has a new partner with his new people he met. And in order for his business to grow, blah, blah, and that's what it's about.
Right.
You make new connections because they are connected to the new things in your life.
Right.
Absolutely. Like, success to me is built on new friends.
Absolutely.
So, get you some new friends. What's the Girl Scout? Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver, but the other's gold. He was locked upstairs for a reason, because we're recording and he is noisy.
It's my new friend. Oh. He's not acting like a new friend right now.
Never. But yeah, so like you gotta make your new friends, but keep your old.
Right.
If they need to be kept.
Again, I was about to say.
If they need to be kept. Because, yeah, right. Because if who you are now doesn't match who they are now, then you gotta let it go. And I personally definitely put people in categories. I'm not gonna pretend I don't. I do, right? Because I have garage friends.
Right.
Where the garage gets popping a little bit differently.
Yes.
So you have to be a little bit more,
I'm a garage friend in
you gotta be a little bit more fun to be in the garage, because we're doing reckless things. Sometimes we're doing offensive things.
Right.
And it's alright to be offended as long as it's appropriate to have the conversation. So that's whereas then I have like, let's go to a tea party, or let's go, have ladies' nights where we talk and we sip. And so it's like, I do have friends I think I invite to different things, and not intentionally to exclude, but more to include. Right.
Because it's the different portions of your life that these friends fit into.
Right.
All these things that you're doing and partaking in are very much you.
Right.
But not every single friend that you have can be at every single event.
Right. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to get ready to close. But I think most importantly, the message is that no new friends is toxic.
Please.
And we really, really, really think it's important that as you grow and shift and evolve, I don't like saying change, because I think I'm still the person I was. I'm just a better version of her. So evolve. Right? As you grow and shift and evolve.
And become more into your own.
And loving you and putting you first.
Exactly.
That you create these new circles of friends that also grow and shift and change and put them first. Not that put you first. Selfish beings.
And listen, if you feel the need to let go of some of these old friends, do it and don't feel sorry about it, because it's not your job. You don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe people your loyalty. You don't owe people your
that's
time.
so hard. Mm-hmm.
You don't owe them anything. It's your life and it's about your happiness and what's going to be the best for you. Be surrounded by people. You are your company, literally. Be surrounded by people that are going to help you and encourage you and want nothing but the best for you.
They say you are a combination of the 5 closest people you spend your time with. So, if you haven't done it for your whole New Year, New Me thing, sit and really look at and think about you're evaluating your time of the 5 people you spend the closest time with, and see if those are the people you want to create who you are. And if not, it's time for some new friends.
I need like 4 more friends. Sorry, y'all. All right, like 3 more friends.
Oh, she sat into that evaluation real quick. Ooh, calculate.
Okay, 2 more friends. 2 more legit friends.
Okay, that was good. That was good.
I had to really think about it. I'm like, no. I got a little.
So yeah, just sit and think about who you spend that time with, and if those are the people you are growing and shaping, because those are the people who make your character and shift your character.
Absolutely.
So, new friends to new friends.
New friends.
And on and the things. So thanks for joining us. Till next time.
It's been great, new friends.